Vintage Backyard RC. What's on the bike? 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 What's on the bike?
Okay, friends, well, we're crammed up in the hobby room, but that's okay. And we're going to get started on this RC10. Now, I picked this up a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of a mystery car to me. It's got this graphite chassis. Not sure who makes that. It might have been Composite Craft. But man, someone cut some slots in there. I guess for a battery strap. You know, we did some crazy things back then when we didn't think parts were going to be vintage. But look how rusty this thing is. Boy, that pin's never coming out. And you know, this is obviously a dirt oval car. I don't know if you can tell. It's got these little shocks on it with these little shock towers. Kyosho shock back there. I think it's a CRP. Anyway, that stuff's all coming off. We're going to make this a runner, an off-road runner. If I can get these rusty parts alpha here. You know, dirt oval car, they probably ran calcium on the track back in the day, and that really used to chew the hardware up. It was great for traction. Not so good for the cars. But yeah, let's get started. Let's get it torn apart, cleaned up, and move on. Here you can see some of that white calcium dust stuck all over the chassis. I also had a really hard time getting some of these screws out, and I had to resort to some alternative methods to get them out of the chassis. The motor plate has a huge crack in it, unfortunately. Not sure what I'm going to do about it right now. So let's follow along and see where it goes. So you can see the front end's pretty much a crusty, rusty mess. The rear of the car is not too bad. The outdrives have some surface rust on them. And obviously the hinge pins are just destroyed on this car. I don't know if I can even reuse them at this point. Let's get back to work. Getting this front end apart was a huge challenge. There's little .050 grub screws on the bottom that hold the shock retaining pins in. They were just frozen. I had to pull the pins out with a pair of pliers, and it just destroyed them. But we'll move on, and we're making progress. The Allen screws in the gear case were pretty rusted up, but we got them out and we'll get them cleaned up. So this car has bearings on the outdrives, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, the rust on the outdrives kept me from getting the gearbox halves apart. It was really a challenge. With a little work and some oil, though, we got them disassembled. So I assure you guys, this looks way worse than it actually is. Those gears are pretty clean. Just a lot of surface rust and a lot of internal rust. Again, from that calcium, it gets on anything that's steel or metal and destroys it. So let's get back to work. So some of those bulkhead screws were just absolutely disintegrated. I had to use the pliers to get them out. And here you can see the hinge pins are just destroyed. No idea if I can clean these up. Everything's really filthy, rusty, crusty, dirty, you name it. So it's time for a bath in the ultrasonic cleaner. Now I use a mix of simple green and distilled water. Let's see how everything turns out. Okay, friends, everything's back from the ultrasonic cleaner. Came out okay. The gearbox is in surprisingly really good shape. I guess somebody's been in there. This is one of the original styles with the little circlip inside. That's in like brand new shape. So we're good to go. A few little bits I have to replace that are cracked, but I think everything is usable. And I might even give these guys a peroxide bath. I've watched a few people doing that. So we might see how that goes, just to try to get some of the yellow out of the arms. And that's it. We're going to move on. That rear motor plate's in bad shape, but we'll see if we use it or not. Clean that chassis up and get her back together. Stand by. So with everything nice and clean, it was time for a game plan of how I was going to put this car back together. Was I going to use everything that comes off of it, or was I going to add some upgrades? Not quite sure yet. One thing I do know, I made a huge mess, and it was time to clean up. So that concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll move on to part 2 soon. And if you did like it, be sure to ring that bell. Please subscribe. It keeps us motivated to keep making these videos. And I'll talk to you all soon down in the comment section. Everybody rock on.